Captain Truth here. Time for more Otaku Evolution. And more importantly, time for more Lupin the Third. Yet again, I take a look at the adventures of the world's greatest thief, that sideburned stealer we all know and love. I wanted to take a look at one of my top 3 favorite Lupin the Third TV specials, and the only one of the 3 dubbed as of this video, 2000's $1 Money Wars, or as it's also known, Missed by a Dollar. I feel like it's a deeply underappreciated TV special, and that's a bigger crime than anything Lupin and the gang can commit. It sees our felonious foursome up against the warmongering bank president and her murderous main lackey, who are trying to seize power with economics and terrorism. I love Lupin the Third. There's just something special about seeing these top-of-their-game figures take on obstacle after obstacle in an effort to pull grand heists and stay ahead of the law. Sure, on average they usually fail, but any measure of success is pretty awesome. Big risks for big rewards and all that. One of the things I love about Missed by a Dollar is that it starts off magnificently, with a trip to New York City where an auction is being held for all kinds of pricey items. But it's one dinky little ring that gets the most attention, and that's the treasure Lupin is after. ICPO's Inspector Zenigata shows up, and Lupin pulls one of his more audacious tricks in order to escape. But one run-in with the villains in a parking garage later, Lupin is being chased all across the Big Apple in another addition to a wonderful opening sequence. These opening sequences in Lupin specials are almost always highlights, even in the worst entries. The chase here isn't on the same level as, say, the one in Castle of Cagliostro, or Fuma Conspiracy, but it's near the level of Episode 0 First Contacts, and that's nothing to sneeze at.
Au revoir! This ring business is starting to get interesting.
One of the best things about any good Lupin the Third feature is the group dynamic. It's difficult to maintain just the right balance of our main characters, especially when new characters usually intrude into the chemistry. Missed by a Dollar has great group dynamics, like when Jigen, Goemon, and Fujigo team up to avenge an apparently dead Lupin in the second act. Or when, with Lupin, the gang take over an oil drilling operation, each doing their part to fool investors into spending on their company. Or the action finale when Lupin, Jigen, and Goemon all take on the mercenary group. They don't quite perfect the use of Goemon in this feature, as few unfortunately do, but he gets more to do than in most. I always love seeing these characters together, working in tandem towards a mutual goal. Though that mutual goal always ends up with Fujigo having all the money. At least she tends to lose it all on her own, though. Now, in most Lupin the Third features, you get some kind of movie-only woman who has an instrumental part in the plot. I've taken to call these fills, or feature-independent Lupin ladies. Oftentimes, the fill will get in the way of the character dynamics, overcomplicating or cluttering things. In the case of Missed by a Dollar, the fill is actually the main antagonist, Cynthia. She's the head of the Bank of the World. Lupin is impressed with her immediately.
He's a petty thief and a cheap gigolo. Believe me, I know his kind.
Oh boy.
You alright there?
She is going to be one tough little cookie.
Cynthia's goal is pretty ambitious, to start a world war for financial gain. To that end, she aims to manipulate markets, controlling resources and sending off mercenaries to start conflicts. But she's more complicated than just a cackling supervillainess. She has a certain sense of vulnerability and charm to her, a cleverness and almost tenderness hidden behind her cold exterior. Fujigo observes that she might actually be interested in Lupin romantically, on some level. The two do share some chemistry.
Now don't be silly.
If you can get the money today, I have a little bonus for you. Unless you're no longer interested in that little brooch you wanted so bad.
Wait a minute. You found it?
Well, who else do you think could find it?
Why give it to me?
Solving a problem is only fun until you get it solved, and then it's just old news. Me? I like new challenges.
I find it interesting, then, that the latter half of the movie is essentially Lupin completely disrupting, deconstructing, and dismantling Cynthia and her ambitions completely. There is a point midway through the movie when Lupin simply could have just taken her money and been done with it, ruining her. But he does more than just ruin her. He utterly humiliates her with all his own plans, completely outpacing and outdoing her despite her own resourcefulness. By the end of the feature, she's a completely broken, shattered woman with zero hope, with Lupin looking nearly vindictive in how badly he unravels her. This is a unique element that I find to be an interesting and amusing departure from the regular Lupin TV special formula. I think another fascinating aspect is this movie was made pre-9/11, so it has this attitude of the world largely being at peace, with financial manipulation and war for profit on a grand scale as novel concepts. Now obviously, post-9/11 politics and foreign policy did not invent these things in the real world, but there's a sense of naivete in the movie I find refreshing, even as the villain's plan seems prescient for the time that followed. Anyway, I don't want to tell you every little thing about the special. I'm hoping Discotheque grabs it up for release on Blu-ray one of these days. But I will say you'll get more from it watching it in Japanese with subtitles. They still can't even pronounce Lupin right in the dub. So that's enough for this week's Otaku Evolution. Kind of a short one. Next time, let's take a look at a Hayao Miyazaki film. It's been a while. You'd think pigs were flying. Until then, see ya!
ひどい男ね。
一度そう言われてみたかったんだ。